first week working at a car dealership, I didn't know how to drive a manual transmission car. They gave me an old Chevy Chevette to practice with by myself. Friday afternoon, I was given the duty to move a new Corvette out of the showroom into the outdoor lot. When I got the keys and opened the door, I realized it was a manual transmission. There were tight spaces where I had to maneuver between cars, plants, desks, and other furniture. The vet had a heavy clutch. With great effort, I accomplished the task. My goal was to buy a car while I was working there. I didn't want to stick with just General Motors, so during lunch, I took off my coveralls and walked into the Ford dealership. They had an Escort GT in the showroom. I had enough money to buy this with cash. I sit in the car, want to get a feel on blind spots and visibility. A salesman approaches me and asks what I'm doing. I tell him I'm considering buying this car. He tells me to get out. And I ask him why. He tells me they don't like my type of people, giving a bad image to the actual buyers. I ask if he can expand on his reason. He tells me you punk rockers with your torn jeans can't afford this car. You're a bunch of losers, now get out and never come back. So I leave and never buy a Ford product. 1 year later, my marketing professor is doing a lecture in front of 100 students and talks about how he worked for Ford, and on his last day, they gave him a free car. I raise my hand and tell my story to the group. The lesson I taught my teacher that day was, never judge a book by its cover. Getting back to my car search, the GM dealership had a used Honda just arrive. I look at it and take it for a spin. It was nice, but I wanted for my first car something new. This was 3 years old. So I went to the sales manager and requested if they could bring in a new Honda Civic that I could buy. I gave him my details and left his office. The next day, I have the service manager call me into his office. He asked me if I went into the sales manager's office to request a car. I said yes. He told me that they will never bring in a Japanese junk car, and if I ever show up at work with a Honda, they will make my life at work very difficult. I was shocked by this attitude. I asked, what would it take for the price to purchase a Sprint Turbo or a Cavalier Z24? He told me the manufacturer's suggested retail price. I could see that they were not happy I made the original request, so at that point I gave my 2 weeks. Months later, I purchased my first car, a Dodge Colt Turbo. To this day, I loved my selection. I went to college in that car and had many great memories. Then it was totaled in a car accident where I had a vision. I survived the crash while the other driver was taken away in an ambulance. Looking back, I would have enjoyed either the Colt or the Sprint Turbo. Today I still look for used ones and hope to one day buy a fixer-upper.